Okay, hello. Thank you to all of you joining us today for our new user Q&A webinar. So this webinar that we are hosting today is for customers that are new to Knack, or you've newly recently subscribed to Knack and you've got questions on workflow. And thank you to those of you that submitted your questions. I chose um, pre-selected questions, and we've got about 45 minutes here of a demo, and I do want to get right into it because I did add quite a few questions to our webinar today, so I want to make sure that I get through all of them. So let's just get right into it. So thank you, welcome to joining me today. My name is Ro, and hopefully you can see my screen. I will let you know that this webinar is being recorded. So if you are unable to hear me, if you feel like you've missed any portion of it, we will have this available on knack.com/webinars, and you can look at our past webinars and you'll see the video there after today. So it takes about 24, 48 hours for that video to be available, but you will find it there. So again, thank you for joining me. So my name is Renasha. You guys can call me Ro if we end up talking here at the end of the presentation. I work with Knack on the customer success team, so I talk with a lot of customers newly coming in to Knack and vetting out whether it's going to be a good fit for what you need for your business needs. So a little bit about me. So before I get into what is Knack, I want to say please feel free to send in your chats or questions in the chat section of our conference room here. You'll see that there's a chat or Q&A area. I'm going to reserve answering any additional questions until the end of the Q&A portion of it. So I'm going to answer all of the questions, and then at the end, if you've got any additional questions in regards to what was shared, or if we have time for possibly new questions, I will open up that time for that. And if you are comfortable with jumping on the mic, I'll enable your mic and allow you to speak to the group as a whole. It's always fun to hear what others come to Knack for and what they're using it for. Sometimes it's great to hear, to see the questions, because it gives you ideas of how you can use Knack in other ways, but as well as hearing other use cases is also a cool thing. So without further ado, let's get into this. So what is Knack? If you have already come to Knack and found us, you know that we are a powerful online database that provides a secure location for you to collect and manage all of your data. So hopefully, as you've started to dig into building your app out, you're seeing some of the things that you can do with our platform. What to expect with this webinar, as I just mentioned, I'm going to answer and demo a select number of submitted questions, and then there's going to be an open opportunity to ask additional questions about what was demoed. This webinar also, this link here will be available to you. You'll be able to see this also on the website. So if you ever need to refer back to the slides and the links that were included with the answered questions here, you can definitely reference that, and that'll be available immediately after the webinar today. I did want to share a note with you. Some of the questions required a bit more information. While support, we know our product well. Every use case is always different. So the more information we have about what you're trying to do with Knack is super helpful in terms of just sharing your use case or how you need the software to work, or what a little bit about your workflow is helpful in us trying to determine whether Knack's going to be a good fit, or how guiding you on how to set things up or to the right links and tools in our knowledge base for that. So some of the questions I would have loved to answer, but I had some additional questions on so definitely wanted to let you know it wasn't that I just skipped over them or I didn't feel like they weren't important. I just needed more information, and I'll follow up after our webinar. So let's jump right into it. Our first question is here. As you guys can see, I'm interested in seeing a demo and learning more about how to pull custom reports. So custom reports is pretty important. We get a lot of requests for this, and we do have features in Knack that allow for creating these reports. So we've got some resources and guides in our knowledge base. And I just wanted to show you a bullet list here of the different types of ways that you can create reports. So we do have a reporting feature, but you could also use your tables and searches for that. You could use pivot. We've got pivot tables, line bar, and area charts, pie charts, dashboards, and calculations. So there's quite a few ways to create reports, not just with our reporting feature. So taking you into an example here for that, I wanted to show you guys our donations manager. And actually, let me go back here, leave that there, and go into our donations manager. And this is where we've got some examples of what reports actually look like. And we'll take a look in the builder too as well to see what this looks like in the back end. But you can see that we've got a pie chart here that's showing us the campaign totals based on percentage. You can hover over each of these. Knack even has the ability to click on this pie feature here and be able to even hone down and see even further more what contributions were made in this particular piece of the pie. So really cool features that you've got here with just our reporting features. Again, you can see our pivot table here, which is showing us each campaign and the amount that was raised per campaign, and we can see totals here. Again, another pivot table. We've got donations by month. We've got line charts, and we've got our area charts here. So wanted to kind of show you what this looks like live and in action. If we were going to head into our builder, and you'll see I have quite a few apps here in the builder here. We're going to go take a look at this. So quickly, we're looking here at the back end of the builder. You'll notice you log into your builder at builder.knack.com. The first page that you land on is going to be a dashboard of all your apps, and then you can go in and head to your app section. And so now we're inside our apps, and I'm looking at our data tab and our pages tab here. When we're looking at reports, we just want to make sure that we're collecting the information that we want to show in our reports. So if we were looking at showing campaign totals, we definitely need to make sure that our objects and our connections are set up correctly in Knack. So you'll see in our campaigns object here, we've got some totals, some calculations going. And I'm going to kind of answer a question that is going to come up later in regards to how do you run or how do you calculate information across objects, and this is going to kind of show you a little bit, but we'll dive into it a little bit more later. But looking at our campaigns, you'll see that we are able to total the sum of donations for one specific campaign. And the reason why we're able to do this is because in our donations object here, we have what we call is our connection field back to the campaign. So anytime a record is entered in, a donation is made, it's being attached or connected to a campaign. And once we set up that connection, we're able to do things like sum up that campaign total and things like that. So, and run counts. And you'll see these options for the different types of formulas and things that you can do across your connections will show up here in the number field. Unlike if we were looking at maybe like a notes object, here we're not going to have those options necessarily because we're not running too many calculations and things like that. But the power really comes in when you start adding number fields and equation fields, and you have a connection that exists, then you'll see that you've got these options here. But I say that to say, just to make sure you're collecting that data for that particular report. And then when we go to add reports to our object, we're going to do that from our Pages tab here. And you'll see that we've got the option here to create a report, and here are the different options here for reports. And it's that simple. So if we wanted to, again, add that pie chart, we're going to just choose the object that we want to see that information broken up into. We're going to add that report, and then you'll get a preview of it actually right here. And then we're given options of what we want to look at, how we want this to group this chart in this info, or to group this pie chart, and what we want to do here. So we definitely can do things like that and refresh the view and see different representation. We can look at number of records or total donations. You'll see our pie chart start to adjust based on that. So it's that simple, just depending on what you need and making sure that you've got that information collected and those connections made, then you'll be able to run that report and set that report up. You've also got these tabs up here, and you've got these options here. So I highly advise when you're building out Knack to make sure that you're clicking on everything to see where it takes your what features or what options are available to you. You'll see these tabs. You'll also see gear icons, things like that. Those are crucial. Things get missed if you don't click on it just to see what it is. But definitely take a look. The source, you could do some filtering of your campaigns. Maybe you only want to look at campaigns that are active. If that was a status that you were tracking, then you can filter and only show campaign records that are active or haven't expired yet, or they're still running. And again, we're here looking at the reports. I mentioned we've got some options with your legend. We can put that towards the bottom. You can move that you can remove it altogether. And again, it's just a matter of refreshing your view just to see what that looks like on your screen. So definitely click around. You can add titles and descriptions. We also have the options tab here that further allows you to do some more things like excluding groups. Maybe you don't want a specific group to be included in that, or allowing that print view option for that particular view that allows you to print that report or print that whatever it is that is on that page that you want to show. So definitely, like I said, click around. But that's pretty much a quick summary of how you can start getting your reports created with your Knack app. But I will say, just backing out of this, it's again not just about the pivot tables, line and bar charts. Sometimes just a regular table or search will get questions of how can I query my database? I want to query my database, or I want to do a customized live report on the fly. And that just is a search view. So if you go looking for that, let's say over here, you're looking for the report and you don't see a way to do a query, that's actually going to be over here, and you're just going to add a search view. And maybe you want to search your campaigns, again, information related to that, and you would just add that view to your page, and you've got this new search view. If we were to take a look at this, our new reports information, and scroll down because we added this towards the bottom, you'll now see I've got this search that's going to allow me to query my database and give me kind of a report on the fly. And again, with the search views, again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to click on all of these things to see where it takes us. And in these settings, you've got even more settings and options and ways to customize your app. So highly recommend exploring this. Explore your data source tab. This is where you find out what your actual view is doing. If it's searching campaign records, you can set filters at this time so that it only shows active campaigns. Maybe you only want to search those. Again, sorting your data you can have that set here to sort the data, how it displays. And again, your search fields even can be customized to a certain degree. Maybe you want them to pull up, search a campaign name, but you need it to be an exact match, then you can definitely set that up here. So again, the gear icons, the pencil icons, all these mean that this can even be further edited. So definitely look at these things and go see what that feature does for you. Also with the search results, you can customize that table, how your results show up. And each one of these, again, you can do more things with that. Maybe you want to set a background color for that particular column. You can definitely do some things like that based on a value. So just like I said, play around with this, look to see what you can do. Maybe you want to total up the total donations overall for all campaigns. You can even add to your table a row or a summary. And actually, this won't work on our search view, but definitely on a table view. You can add that summary to be able to see all of the total for all of your campaigns. So, and actually I do want to take you to an example that does show you that. So if we're looking at our donations actual table, you can head over here to the options and you'll see this option here for row summaries that'll allow you to do that. So again, tables, searches, accompanied along with your other options for reporting, pivots, line, bar, area charts. You could definitely do that. And you can then begin to start building yourself, like in our dashboard here for our donations manager, but we actually can create a dashboard where we can see this thing, see results and see things right away. So don't want to go too long into that one. Let's jump into our next question. Can a builder be added to my entire Knack account so they have full access to every app, or does the builder need to be added to each app separately? So unfortunately with this, a shared builder can only be added to one app at a time. So they would need to have access to the entire, in order to have access to the entire account, you would need to provide them with the login details for the primary account in order to access all of the apps. Otherwise, you will need to share each app individually with the particular builder. If you want them to, if you've got 3 apps and you want them to have access to all 3, you would need to add them individually to each one. With that said, this is a really good feature request, and we'd love to know about these things because we do have our own tracking for these feature requests, and we also have a link for you to be able to do that. So if you would interested in putting out that information or putting a request out, you can definitely do that, and you can find that on our community pages for Knack, and you'll just see right away feature request right here, and that will take you here, and you can vote on requests that have been submitted as well as submit a new request. So definitely a good feature request here is being able to give access to a user to all of your apps versus just the one at a time. The next question, integration with mobile apps for sales orders. So this was one where I wasn't quite sure exactly what the use case is, but obviously with integrating, maybe you're looking to share your data. And if that is the case, if not, please let me know. And you can definitely follow up in our customer survey that we send out afterwards, or just go ahead and submit your question here, or Q&A in the chat section or in the Q&A section if I don't answer this question. But we do have a couple options for sharing your data. We have the Knack API. Again, this is we have the link provided here in this document if you need to refer back to this, and you can work with a developer. If you are a developer yourself, you can definitely work with our API and share your data to other platforms. The other option that we do have is Zapier, and we integrate with Zapier, which in turn integrates with thousands of other applications. So you could definitely connect your data that way. So if you've got another app that you're using for sales orders and you want to push information that's coming into your Knack app to that particular mobile app, you would just need to see if there's an option available for that within Zapier. Otherwise, you can use the Knack API. So hopefully this answers your question. If not, like I said, please reach out to me and let me know specifically what you're looking for with this case. I will say on another note that if you're looking for something that is like a native mobile app on your cell phone where you download it in the App Store, Knack does not work that way. It's a web-based application, but we are mobile responsive, so we will resize to any screen. So if you are looking to be able to access your actual live application mobily while either out in the field as a sales rep and you're collecting orders, you can definitely use the live application. It'll look just like a mobile app, and you can enter in information that way. So it is mobile responsive with that. Next question, can you delete records? Yes, the quick answer here is yes. And you can do that in two places, from the live application and from the Knack builder as well. We also have a guide here in our knowledge base for that. So taking a look at an example here, we can do a couple things. You can add a delete link to your views, anywhere to your table views or a details views to delete a record. So if we were going to look here, we're in our custom CRM, we're here in the builder. Again, like I said, go into these settings here. We can see this table here that just has an edit link to edit this record. But what if we wanted to delete it? Again, like I said, we've got all of these lovely settings here. We have this tab right here that says links. If we click on links, you'll see these options here. So we've got our link to delete a record. So all we have to do is click and add that, and that's going to drop that information in right there for us. So there's nothing to be done other than going to this link here and clicking delete, and then you'll be able to delete this record. So that's how you set that up from your live application. Again, let's see if we submit changes and we were to go look at this dashboard here and log in as a rep, so we can see what this looks like. You'll see that we have this new delete link here added to our table. So that's one way to delete records. From the actual builder, if we wanted to remove records, we would head over to the data tab, and maybe we wanted to do a batch delete. We can definitely do that, and we would head over to the object that we wanted to remove those records from, and we'd come over to our records tab here, and you'll see the options to import, export, update, as well as delete. And you can select all of your records, or you can do one by one here, and you can choose to delete that record. So that is pretty much the quick rundown of how to do that. But again, you'll miss this. Your tables by default do not, when you add a view to any of your pages, your tables and list views, things like that, don't automatically add that delete option. So you have to definitely go into the settings, check for your links tab, and then add that link here to your view or to the table column here. So that's that. Let's see. Our next question. What's the best resource to understand the database design side of things? I have trouble determining what should be an object, how things should relate to each other. I'd love a beginner's resource to help me think about this more intelligently. So I'll do the best that I can to sum this up without going over too much time. But so what I've shared with you here is kind of the platform or the blueprint of when you're starting out to design your database. And I always say, you know, we're going to start with the data side first of our application. So if we're looking at specifically, let's go take a look at the customer portal. And if you guys are not aware, there is an actual customer portal, how to build a customer portal webinar, as well as some documentation and an actual demo app. If you're not familiar, you can definitely go through that and watch that webinar. It does a pretty good job, I would say, of setting it up, because it starts from scratch, building out this customer portal and showing you the process that you would take in figuring out where to start. So I'll kind of briefly run through that here in this webinar. But if we were looking at a customer portal, and let's say the use cases, I've got customers. I want them to be able to log into my app. I want them to be able to see records that they are connected to, and also submit maybe requests. And I want it all to be connected to them. I want them to only see their information. So the first part of this is kind of determining what data that you need to collect. One, from the customer. You want to collect data on these services that they are that they're going to be submitting. And then the other part about this is also thinking about who the who part needs to log in. So the first part of this question here that was asked is like, how do you know whether you're going to create it as an object, and how do you connect it? So one, trying to figure out the portion of whether it needs to be an object or a user role. The rule of thumb is if they need to log in, then you're going to create them as a user role object versus as an object. The user role section allows you to group your users. So if you've got a department, or you've got certain roles like staff, but then you've got management, and they're all going to be looking at different things, you're going to create that group under user roles. So you'll see in this particular example, we have a customer's user role, and then we also have an admin user role. So what this is saying is that we're going to be creating pages for our customers to log in and see information, but we're also going to be creating pages for admins to be able to log in and see information. So again, maybe we want our customers to log in and see only their information. And then the second part of that is our admins to log in and see everything. We want them to see everything and manage all the data. So we're going to create two different roles. And with how Knack works, you enable the user roles first, because you'll just first log into this new app and you'll see that there are no user roles created. It'll be empty. And what you'll need to do is first enable it, and then you start building out your groups of users that will be accessing the account. So that's usually typically what I recommend, is starting there with maybe who needs to log in and see information, especially when you're talking about relating data back to one particular user role, or if you want a specific group to only see their information and nothing else in the database, then I always start with my user roles. So then the next part of this workflow that we're building is we've got customers that we want them to log in and see their services and maybe submit service requests. So the next part would be to create an object to capture that information. So we're going to create an object for services. And in this service object is where we're going to add all the information that we want, all the fields that we're going to collect on that service, whether it's the in this particular use case, a system type, services needed, instructions. But the other key component is this customer field. So we need to add a connection field that connects this customer, or connects this system, this services record back to the customer. So within Knack, the way connections work is you look at the statement. Each customer can submit many service requests. Well, the part of that statement that has the many is where you're going to add your connection field. So I'm going to go inside the many services. I'm going to go inside my services object. I'm going to add this connection field that's going to connect that record back to my customer. And I'm just going to choose customer, and I'm going to hit next. We already have this field, so this is going to give me that warning. But we're going to hit next, and then it'll ask me one to many. And usually this first statement is what you're looking to validate. The second one, each service connects with one customer, but the second one you want to validate, each customer connects with many services. If that is exactly how you need it to work, perfect, then you'll just go ahead and then add that connection. Now we've already got the connection existing here, and again, I can go into the settings and see I have this set up one to many. And that's it. That's all you have to do to connect the customer to the service record. So now when you're actually entering in a record and hey, you've got the service request that's coming in, you can now choose that customer, or on the pages side, you can have it done automatically, and I can quickly show you how that's done. But basically you're telling this record that it's connected to the customer. So that's it. So once you've made that connection and there's values that are matched up, that's all you need to do. There's no need to add in this customer record or in this services record or service record any additional fields that come from the customer record. So let's say we're collecting the phone number and address, and we want that to be in our services. We don't need to add that. We can just grab that information from the connection. And what I mean by that is, now that we've created that connection between the services, we've got our pages here that we've started working on. And I'll back up just a little bit here just to walk you through this. We've got this page here that has a key. And this is our start page, and there's a key, and that basically just says all these pages are behind a login. And on the page, what's on that page is what we view right here. So here's our services page. And again, if I were looking at this particular app and I don't have access, so I got to log in as the customer. Let's see. So now if we're looking at these two kind of side by side, but not really, we have this login page where I just logged in at, and it's going to take me to a page where I have a menu and a table. And here's my menu and this table where I could see all of the services. Now these are all Steve's services. They're not anyone else's. They're just Steve's. And with how Knack works, once you set up this first page with a login, and again, we can click on this form here and see what this actual view is doing. And it tells us this page is working with our customer. So that means if admin tries to log in, they're not going to be able to log into these pages. Only the customers or users in the database that have customer level access or are associated with the customer user role will be able to see these pages. So we've got this started here. Now on this page here, you'll notice our table also has a key, and that key says that this view is working with the logged in user. Now to get this process started, how did we get this table here? And how did we connect it to this particular, the logged in user? How do we do that? Well, we've got all of our views up here that allows us to add different things that we want to see on the page. So let's, like I said, our customer logs in, we want them to see a table of all of their services. Okay, so I'm going to go head over to the table and I'm going to add a table. Now you're going to be hit with these menu, this list of options here, and you'll notice this key here again, and again this says these records are connected to the logged in user. So you want to show services that are connected to the logged in customer because it's working with the customer. Now if we were to choose from our options down here where there is no key, and let's say we wanted to see those services and we add that, we're going to see a table without a key. So this one's going to open up our whole entire database and show everything. So we really want to pay attention to that step there. When we're building this out, we want to make sure that we're adding a table that is connected to the logged in user. And you'll have these options here because we have a no object in there that's connected further to the logged in user, but we're looking at specifically just showing them their services. And it's just as easy as that. And you'll be given options to kind of like help guide you through building this out. Do you want to add a link to this table that links to a form to edit? Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I want to add a link to view more details. Then on this details page, do we want to see a list of notes connected with the table? Yeah, we want to see notes. Do we want to be able to add a note? So there's these things that you need to pay attention to when you're adding this view that Knack will walk you through. If you don't do it at this step, you can always do it at another step or add it at another time. It's definitely possible. But now that we've got this services added here, you'll see that we've got this edit link in the details. If I click on that details, we'll see my notes and my way to add a form, or has a form to add a note. So again, as I was mentioning, we made this connection between the services and the customer. We now have these options to add pages and add views that limit what that particular user role sees. So when you build out your pages, you're building them out based on a user role, and you're showing them only what you want to show them, and you're controlling all of that. And again, you control it even all the way down to the field level. Maybe there's an admin field that you only want admin to see. You can remove those from any of these views. Again, it's just a matter of, I don't need them to see the status. We don't need them to see this particular image. So you just remove those, and that just removes it from the view, and it cleans things up and only shows them what you want to show them. You have also options here to enable inline editing, which allows your table to act like a spreadsheet, so that you can actually update inline. And you can turn that on there, but then you can further go into these and turn it off at the column level. Like maybe you only want them to update one, have access to update one column. So again, the power of Knack and how in depth these features go just is dependent upon clicking on everything and seeing what you can and cannot do. We also have, like I mentioned, our knowledge base, which you've seen me link to it a couple times here. Feel free, go in there, check things out, type in a keyword that you think might work. If the keyword doesn't come to mind or you're not finding anything, you can always reach out to support here. You'll see a little chat icon in the builder, and just click on there and submit a question, or hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Can you guide me to the right material in your knowledge base? And we're happy to help. And on that note, I will say with our support hours, we're available. It's not like a traditional live chat. We're available from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time USA. So if you are reaching out to us after those hours, we'll follow up as soon as we can, as soon as we're back online. And we also offer a different levels of support for the different plans that you're on, and you can definitely learn more about that on our pricing page. So hopefully this kind of clears up what we're trying to answer here in terms of where to start with your database. Start with the data tab. If you're referencing back to our presentation here, you'll see you'll want to define and organize. You're going to start with the data, look at your objects and your user roles and connections, then head to your pages, and then start building things out there. Some great guides that we have here getting started, designing your database, walks you through kind of briefly of what we, or not briefly, but in more in depth of what we did here, our knowledge base. And again, these are some great getting started type articles. And here's the link to the portal webinar if you are wanting to take a look at that and go through this a little bit more slowly. I believe this also answers an additional question that we had, which was interested in learning how to develop a customer portal. And this webinar right here is the best one to go to in terms of walking you through it, building that out from scratch. So then let's see, we're going to head down here and say, how can I do cross-object formulas? And this is kind of what I touched upon a little bit earlier. Our formula fields are used to run calculations on connected records and store the total of that calculation. Our inventory manager is a good example of that, I feel. So I'm going to go take a look at our inventory manager. So we're looking here at our app in the builder, and so with inventory, you are looking to track inventory when things are purchased and when things are shipped. So you've got stuff incoming and outgoing with your products. So again, this is really heavily dependent upon your connections and making sure that things are in the right place. So if we've got a purchases or a product object that's managing all of our products, this is where all the magic is going to happen. That cross object platform calculations are going to happen. So you've got a starting inventory for that particular product, but then how do you calculate the number of orders that maybe went out that were shipped of that inventory? Well, we've got this orders object that's going to manage what was shipped. So we've got a number field that's tracking that. But the more important part is this is connecting back to our product. So again, when the order is being entered, a product is being selected, boom, we've made that connection. So now that product knows about this particular order and all of the information in that order. So that would include the number shipped. So we have this information being tracked. So if we go back to our products, now you'll see we can add this sum field that lets us sum up whatever we want. So now we're looking at our order. We want to sum up all of the records that are shipped, that are related to that particular, or all of, not the records, but all of any record that's connected to that. And we want to total up the number shipped field across all of the different, the two objects. So that's it. Now we have this running sum that's going to happen, and it's going to automatically just sum up every time an order goes out. This is going to track what's being shipped. Okay, it's going to track it. Now we need a way to track what is being received, and that will be done through our purchases object. And our purchases object is set up in a similar way. It's got this connection field that then connects that record back to the product. So now the product object can now do a sum, and it can start summing up what's been received. So now we know with this particular product, whatever product it is, we can now see those connected records that of purchases, and we can also see what was shipped, and we can keep a running total of that information. With that knowledge, we can now do our inventory on hand. So we can just grab our equation field, and this is the beauty of this equation field is as soon as you start typing, you'll start seeing the fields that are available to you. Let's see, I think it was received. So received, and then we can then subtract what's shipped. And that's it. So now we've got that information. We can go starting inventory plus received minus shipped, and now we know what inventory that we always have on hand. So this is how we would kind of set up that cross your objects calculating, where you're able to one, total up all the connected records that are related to that one product. And then 2, use your equation field once you've pulled all the final numbers into that object to then run the calculations to get that inventory on hand. In this particular use case, and we also have an inventory management webinar if you have that specific use case and you want to learn more about setting this up, you can definitely watch that. But in this particular use case can be used in things like my products is my banking account, or it is a budget that we have set, and you've got your incoming and you've got your outgoing, your expenses and income that you're tracking. So you could definitely set up this similar type of workflow for tracking anything across your objects. Just think in terms of in that one object, it's not going to be able to know, you're not going to be able to run that calculation if you're just using one object and you want it to count up all the other records in that same object. It won't necessarily work that way unless maybe you have to create a second object to then manage the history of the purchases or the history of the shipped orders and things like that. So definitely take a pause, think about it, and then go, okay, I probably need to track some history on this that will then allow me to be able to run these calculations. And I need to create a connection for that. That would be, if you click on this link here, it'll take you to our template area where you can actually look at the inventory manager and take a look at that. But I always think that's a pretty good example. And again, even with your equation field, as long as you've got the connections created, even with your equation field, you could reference information across different objects. So maybe with these products here, let's say that we have a fee that we're going to charge here on top of each one of these, or per person who a staff has a specific fee that they tack on, or whatever the case is, you can still reference that in your equation fields. So you can always start typing in and you'll see even options from your connected records appear in the equation field. So you can just head down through this and you'll see all the different functions and things that are available. But this probably isn't a good example as far as being able to see fields in your other objects, but you definitely in your other connected objects, but you can definitely use your equation field to do some of those things if you needed to. Okay, why is there no percentage option? There is an actual percentage option, and I feel like this is one of those where if once you start really getting familiar with Knack and you're comfortable with it, and you let your Explorer out, you will find that you have these options here. So basically, just head to the Data tab in the Builder, click on your object that you want to see that information, and here's a perfect example inside our fundraiser app. We wanted to show a percentage of the goal for all of the fundraisers. We want to see where we're at compared to the goal. And we're just doing a total donations divided by the goal. Right here in our number format is where you find your percentage option. And that's it. I mean, and that is in specifically in the number field. And you can also do this, this is the equation field, but you can also do that in a number field as well. You can set that to your percentage option there. So hopefully that answers your question, but that is available for you. Next question, is there a custom domain deployment option? So this could mean a couple different things. The way I understood this question is, yes, you can point your own domain to your Knack app, and this feature is available with our Pro plans and above. You just need to submit a request. So if you've got mywebsite.com and you don't want to use the Knack personalized URL, which you'll see, your Knack personalized URL is usually going to be your slug with your app name following it afterwards. So you definitely, if you want to point it to your own domain name, it's just the request that you could submit, and it's available again with our Pro plans and above if you're looking to wanting that to be behind your domain name. Now, the other option you have is embedding the app on your website. So you can grab a snippet of code by going into your gear icon here, and there's lots of settings here, so make note. But you can just grab embed code. You can add new, or take one that you've already got, and you just copy that snippet, and you can paste that start page with all the following pages on your website, on any page of your website. So that's one way. If the question is more related to deploying, meaning you update your Knack app and you want to deploy changes, those changes to your Knack app, we don't have a staging area where you can build out your app and then push those changes that were made. When you are actually making changes, you're making them in your live application if it's live and active and running. What we do recommend is creating a copy of your app, then making the changes in either the copy or the original, and then if everything looks good and works well, then you can change things out or make the changes in the live application. We do know this is a popular feature request, so we are aware of this one, and so it's definitely on our radar. I don't have a timeline for when we'd be offering something like this, but it is definitely a feature we know about, that our customers have been wanting to see, is being able to make changes in kind of a staging environment and then push that to their Knack app, push those changes to their live Knack app. But our solution in the interim is to create a copy and make changes there, and then either work in the new copy or apply those changes to the actual live application. The next question, the menu doesn't allow moving of subpages. So this is correct. There's not a feature available to allow you to copy subpages, and rather you'd want to copy those views to a new page that you create. So what they mean by that question is, you can see at the start page, you have an option to copy this, and this will copy all of your pages. But if you're looking to copy this details page here, you won't see that option's available. And a lot of reasons why this is set up this way is sometimes you have information that you don't, that is either behind a login, and there's not a feature right now within Knack that's going to allow you to walk through the steps of making sure it gets applied, and all the functionality and features get applied in the same way to all of to that particular page individually, to wherever else that you want to put it. So you would then have to start with this start page and then make a copy of all the pages. What we recommend is maybe creating a new page, and then each one of these views can then be copied and moved, but you would definitely need to copy and move each one of those views to the new page. But that is one option. Now, the challenge with that is we've got, this probably isn't a good example because we've only got our admin access, but if we were looking at our customer portal app, where we've got a manager and we've got a customer, we definitely don't want, there's definitely going to be a problem when you're trying to copy pages over that maybe are set and built for your customers versus trying to copy and paste that same page over to your admin. It just won't work because you're giving access to do two different user roles. So that will not be available to do with that particular. You won't be able to do that with some certain views. Like I wouldn't be able to take this view and move it. You'll see these pages gray out because these business pages don't have access, the same level of access that the customer pages have. But you'll see the pages that I can copy and move this to. And those will be highlighted for you to know that. So just a word of caution there. Looking at the time, we are looking to house data and reporting for external clients to access. When the clients access the information, we are wanting them to only have the ability to access the information that is specifically for them. I would like to know how to use your user-based permissions work if this option is available. So this is definitely available. I went through a little bit of this earlier when we talked about our customer portal and our customers being able to view information that's related to them. So what I did was add into this, my response here is links to the actual documents that will walk you through setting that up. So showing records connected to the logged in user and showing records connected to the logged in user's company or group. So if you've got a group of people, users that are logged in that are associated with the company, you can show them only their information that's related to the company as well. Let's see. I'm gonna probably pause here. This information is available. Will be available live. This presentation will be available on the Knack webinar webpage. So you can definitely follow up and get to this last question because I believe this is the last question. We do have at least two questions that I do want to get to. I don't want to run the time over here, so I'm gonna look at the last two questions, and then if anyone else has any additional questions, this would be a good time to submit that question now. But I do want to say thank you for attending today, and hopefully you got some good information from the demo and what we shared. There will be a survey that I will send out after the webinar, so feel free to ask any additional questions there. So jumping right into Francois, your question, why does your data objects have menus for fields, records, tasks, and settings? Mine doesn't have tasks. That's a good question. With our Pro plan and above, you have this option for tasks, and these tasks are allowing you to do scheduled activities on your database. So if there's a change in a status and you want to send an email notification, or you want to update a record to say maybe you have an expiration date of today and you want to set the value on a field to expired, you can have the scheduled task go through, and every day you can have it running daily to go through, look at those records. If it meets the criteria of today is today, if the date is today, the current date, then set this value to expired, or send an email notification to the customer notifying them that their account is up for renewal, or things like that. So scheduled tasks is really a great way to kind of automate actions on your database. You can, again, update records. You can update connected records, insert new connected records, and send emails, and you can schedule these to run on your database, again, taking away that need to be able to have to manually update things. You can have this do it automatically for you. So you won't see it during the trial period. This is not available during the trial, but it is available with Pro plans. If it was something you did want to test out ahead of time, you can definitely upgrade to the Pro plan and test it out during the trial. Can you change the currency symbol to something except the dollar or a euro symbol? I believe with custom code, let's see, let me go into our data tab. if we're looking at our currency options, again, it's just a matter of going into your settings and looking at what's available here. So you can format, again, do some specific formatting here. I'll need to double check with our support dev just to see if there's a way to do any further customization with that. I don't believe so, but I can definitely follow up with you on that. If there are no additional questions, I'm going to wrap this webinar up. I do have one more minute if I did want to head through these last two questions here, which were basically about receiving email in a Knack database to activate a sequence, and using Dropbox to store files uploaded through Knack application. We don't have a native feature that'll allow you to receive emails. However, you may be able to do this with custom code or with Zapier, as I mentioned earlier, because we do integrate with Zapier, but and there may be a way to be able to do that way. As far as using Dropbox to store files uploaded through Knack application, again, that's another example where we don't have a native feature to do that, but it may be possible with custom code or with Zapier. Alrighty. Thanks, Francois. If you don't have any additional questions, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you for joining me today. Again, this webinar will be available in the next 24 to 48 hours. You can, however, access the slides sooner. I'll be getting those uploaded to the webinar page, and you can find this particular webinar under the past webinars or videos link. If no further questions, have a great rest of your day, and please fill out the survey after this webinar. And if you have any additional questions, please let us know. Thanks.